operating system structure. Okay. What we have here, kenapa ya you all punya kawan ni, 3 orang ni, dia tak ada apa-apa respon, dia tak ada pun WhatsApp kan? Dia suka duduk kat lobby Aduh. So over here, what content that available in our module 2, it will be operating system service. Here is the 3 things that I show you just now, your graphic user interface, your bash interface, your command line interface. So we will learn it today on this. About system call, what is system call? Type of system call, there is several types similar also to just now your deadlock process. There is also several type. Okay, system program, operating system structure. You need to know there is several structure later on. Application, where is it? Where is your program? So in terms of the structure of your operating system, and lastly your system boots. So the objective, you can read what you need to achieve at the end of this module 02. So what is operating system again? So operating system provide you with the environment. Environment what? For you to play your application, your games. Before you can have and run your game, of course, you need to have your OS. Similar also your PS, PS4, PS5, they have their own operating system before you can install any new game. So it is providing you with the environment before you can have a program or application. Operating system provides certain services, including, this is the main one, which is program itself, program application, and also user for those program, which is, if you are a programmer, you want to do some things that you need a operating system. So this is 2 services that available or provided by the operating system. Okay, let me see here. OS or operating service that helpful you as a user. Normally, in your daily life, I think you are referring to this one. Okay, where is it? Okay, this is our graphic user interface. When you want to buy your laptop or computer, I do believe you will refer to what type of graphic card that you have, isn't it? Okay, for gamer. For gamer, what do you think that you need to have for the graphic card? Siraj Munir. Is it I pronounce your names correctly? If you are a gamer, what type of graphic card that you needed?
Normally, I use GTX 1650 Ti.
Wow, so you are doing a very like a process that needed quite high in the RAM.
Actually, not this like Valorant or FIFA. This is how it actually runs smoothly in my computer.
Okay. Next might be, can I ask siapa yang muka-muka gamer kat sini? Muhammad Allah. Muhammad Allah. What
Yes, Doctor.
what type of your graphic card currently that you are using? AMD or might be
Eh, Yes, AMD, because I play on PlayStation.
oh
So PlayStation uses AMD graphic cards.
okay, see, I can pick someone Who is the gamer here? Tak ada siapa kat sini gamer. Okay, so you can see that mostly when you are trying to buy computer or laptop, first thing you're going to look into a graphic card, isn't it? Similar also in our operating system, you have three type, but going to prefer on the graphic, which is user interface. Where else your user interface? Kejap, I share again my screen. Okay, this one over here, this is my user interface. You can see here, might be quite small. That is all my user interface. Similar also at here, which is I can see it virtually. I can see it. I can click, and I can play around with it without needed like a command line. I just try to open something by using a visual. Here is a graphic looks of my user graphic user interface. Compare to your command line, your CLI command line, which is in terms of your terminal here. You can see here. So this is your terminal. You still can open whatever program might be here you want to see inside your Unity here might be. This one is user interface, graphic user interface, isn't it? You just click at this folder, you can see what is inside. But using your terminal, you can see also it might be here. LS, where am I now? Oh, cannot show this. CD. Okay, now you can see here, this is user desktop. Where is desktop? Desktop is here currently, which is you look on the graphic user interface. But here at the command prompt, we call as a command line user interface. We see it's on the desktop. You can see. You can go also CD what we have Unity here. You can see CD Unity. So I already point out here in the Unity line. I don't know whether this one is, it cannot because this one normally LS for your Linux, but here you already go for Unity. For terminal under window, I forgot how to show the file instead. But I want to show you the difference between your command line CLI and also your graphic user interface here, your GUI. Okay, so this is your GUI, this is your command line. When you are doing FYP later on, for your FYP, if you are playing around with application to develop application using a web base, you're going to play around like graphic user interface, GUI, you need to create GUI. But mostly if you are playing around with application also, you're going to see, oh, you need to create user interface, which is related to graphic also. Okay. Diorang boleh masuk yang lain. Nanti I check lagi. Okay, let me go through here. Okay, another one. We have a bash interface. Bash interface is quite similar to your command line, but command line is more into like a current. Whatever you want to do it currently. But for bash interface, it is something that you have a command still under directive, but you going to execute it automatically. compared to the command line. So whatever you execute, this one you already learned in your module 1, right? So it's automatically will run, let's say you want to open any application, at the background is going to do it, process it, and suddenly you going to see the output. Okay, let's see the definition. You can see here there is 3 things. Command line CLI, which is use tag commands. If you want to open something, you need to type because it is related to text. And method entering them, saying a keyboard for typing into a command line in a specific format. Because it's like similar to what I did just now, which is when I type something which is window not recognized, so it is also needed in terms of the format. While for your graphic user interface, your GUI, which is your interface in the Windows system with a pointing device to direct your input-output related to your mouse. The output display will be your currently display for your computer or laptop. And make selection and a keyboard to enter text. Okay, so this is about GUI. Just now we already showed you, similar also your command line. And bash interface, it's quite similar to your CLI, which is related to the command, and directively to control those commands are entered into your file and also application, and it execute. Normally it's going to be automatically, you run it, let's say you say, okay, open the Microsoft window, and then you play around with your game and etc. It's doing it in background, you cannot see it, and suddenly you already have the output. Okay, here is the view in terms of graphics. You have your GUI, you're going to have a command line, you also have the bash. These things will be connected. You need to have your user interface to connect to your system, which is like input, output, operation, even your file system, resource allocation, which is related to your storage, program execution. So all of these are connected to each other. And now this is the yourself, which is user. So you're going to see only your prefer. Maybe you're going to prefer GUI because normally we are referring to our GUI. Might be you are a good programmer, you always do any application, any program using your command line. Maybe you're going to use also bash. And after you just like click at your GUI, it's basically connected to your user interface. And then there is a system call. System call will recognize what is basically you ask the computer or the system to do. So might be you're going to ask your computer to execute a certain file. So it's going to call this program application. The rest is not going to be touched. This depends on the system call. It's going to call which one. And then after you call the program execution, there is also several other services. And then it's going to go to your hardware system, which is your iOS, which is your Windows, lastly the hardware, which is you going to display. Okay, now let's we go on the CLI. CLI is not, I think, still you have a plenty time, I think, playing around with your CLI, which is your terminal. CMD, we call it in your window. Some operating system, which is OS, include the command interpreter in the kernel. So you need to have the OS, which is Windows or Unix, treat the command interpreters that you are feeding in as a special program that run when a job initiate or when a user first log on into the system, devices, gadget, and etc. It is not only depending on your laptop, but of course, when you are talk about OS, you will think, okay, it is like computer, it is like laptop, but it is also including several other gadgets like your iPad, your smartphone. They are also having the similar OS. The rest is not, I think you can read it. Okay, this is the one that I show you just now. What I think this is in term of, okay, iMacBook Pro. You can see here, this is on the MacBook, how the user interface look like. For window, this is the one that I show you just now. Okay, it will look like this. You're going to also, you can see also how you play around with this command prompt, and then you try to look into what is the system that you are using now. Okay, now we have our GUI. For our GUI, user-friendly desktop, because we can see the picture, we can see its visual looks, and usually it's playing around. You can see here you have a mouse, the things that you click around, and then the keyboard itself. Sometimes you can just using the keyboard, arrow up, down, left, right, and the rest. Another one is monitor. Monitor also having just currently we can also have the touch screen, so it's also can be like a mouse, but it can be also the output device for your computer system, which is to point it out and visualize whatever output that you needed. Icon represent file, program, and action, which is familiar with the icon. You can always play around with your icon here. You can also change your icon. Last time you can see here, this is my did simulator program, but I play around and change the icon following whatever preferred by me. Similar to my printer. What else? Might be you can see it's quite small, isn't it? Okay, and then you have a various mouse button, object interface, which is cause and action for you to provide information, option for you to execute function, execute application, or even for you to open directory, open file, open folder, which is known as folder. You normally familiar with the folder name. Maybe you can say one of your friend ask, I want to copy your report, maybe. So you say, okay, the report is on my desktop here under Unity folder. So you are pointing as folder, isn't it? You're not saying that, okay, it is inside, it is at my desktop directory. Under the desktop directory, you can go to the directory called as Unity. Okay, you can see here. Macam mana I nak besarkan? Wait ah. Okay, you can see here, here you have location. Where is your locations that you put your folder? So might be you can say to your friend, instead of Unity, might be you can go here. You have the locations of the directory, program file, Unity Hub maybe. So you can say, okay, my file for my final report is at program file Unity Hub. Then your friend will be, what's again? Instead of just saying like, okay, it is inside the folder of Unity. So it's easier for us to point and set a folder because we are familiar with this kind of name. Many systems now include both. You can have CLI, you can also have a GUI, which is similar to our Windows currently. All our devices are having both, I think. I don't know whether our smartphone having two, but normally our smartphone, we are only have the GUI. Microsoft Windows is GUI with also CLI, which is under your command cell. While for the Mac OS also, you are referring to as a core, which is the GUI interface with the unique kernel underneath of the cells that are available. I think some of you might be using the Mac OS. Unique Linux have CLI. So you can see here Linux and also Unix. Normally we are using the CLI, but it can be also as an optional GUI interface. But you can see here, while we are using our Windows, this is our main reference. We are going to use GUI. But for Linux later on, which is you are dealing with your Linux, Fedora, and etc., CLI will be the main, but the GUI will be the optional. For Windows, GUI will be the main, CLI will be optional for you. Okay, here touchscreen interface. It is look like your smartphone, but you can also have quite similar things into your laptop if you having the touchscreen laptop. This is touchscreen interface, which is require a new interface when you didn't have mouse, or you did not desire any mouse to move around to point to something. Instead, you are using your finger as a mouse to move around and to swipe, to open your application, isn't it? So action and selection based on the gesture. Sometimes you just rotate. You're going to rotate your smartphone, smart mobile, similar also to your iPad, similar to your laptop if you are having a kind of laptop that you can rotate, which is you going to refer to your gesture. Virtual keyboard is also available if you are having the touchscreen interface. Going to have I'm not saying only on your mobile phone, okay? This one is more on the example of your smartphone. But if you have the laptop also, you're going to find that you have a virtual keyboard. You're going to also have the optional if you want to have several other type of virtual keyboard, not only the current keyboard that we are using. And not only that, we also have in terms of GUI. This is all under GUI. We can also have the voice command. Although this one you cannot see in terms of visual or graphic, isn't it? But there is available application for you to use the GUI. Okay, that is under GUI and then your CLI. But here it's not giving you the best. Let me see what is the example. Might be I can show you. Itulah besar-besar ni sebenarnya. You can see here bash interface which is quite similar, which is I show you quite similar to your command line, but it is going to play around in your background. It's going to execute your output and then you suddenly see it. Mana ya? Because normally as our normal user, we're not going to see that. Let me. You can try to see also and try to Google. Wait, Okay, this is example of bash. You can see here how you're going to call out. Still, you are using your command prompt. You can see here. But it's going to execute automatically and then you just left it at background. It is already there. Like when you are going to set up here your ASD, your ID, your username, password, even the date. This is example of what. So normally you're not going to see it to instruct something currently happen. Okay. Go back to your slide here. Okay, next we have our system call. System call is programming interface. Oh, before that, last time I think Karen happily to be a programmer. I think for front end developer. You have many type of developer. You can have the back end. You can have the front end. When you are playing with a back end, this is the things that you are normally see. You are playing around a lot of something with all the text. But when you are playing around as a developer at the front end, you're going to see it in visual or graphic things. So it's much more interactive, I think. But both is important. You cannot be I think you can be a boss, but normally in a company, they're going to have a separate entities for back-end developer, for a front-end developer, because both of their tasks is totally different. So here you can see when you have a system call, the architecture here, you are playing around with your front end, especially when you are using the GUI. When you're having a system call, you want to call something inside in your database and etc. You're going to play around with your back end. So that's why we are having our system call here. Kenapa dia tak nak naik ni? Okay. So programming interface to service provided by your OS, typically written in the high-level language C or C++, but it is even more currently we have a lot of other high-level language. This is not only C and C++. Mostly the program called as, you can see here, Application Programming Interface API. Okay, I have a project with industry and I try to find a developer for back end and also front end. If you are mastering, if you already master and be a developer like 1 year, 2 years, you can do a part-time job or freelance instead of like just work at your company, because when you have the knowledge to develop API, it's quite easy for you to develop any kind of API. So you can just take about like 24 hours, but you're going to pay more than 1,000. This is what freelance do. So I also have experience searching for developer for API, and I need to pay more than 1,000 only for 24 hours, but it's already finished. So maybe if you are still searching what kind of job I'm going to go after I graduate and etc. So developer for backend is also having a quite an expensive salary. Next, API specifically, okay, so under developer also, or API, it is not only C or C++. You can have a lot of type of programming under API. But normally, I can see that developer in Malaysia, especially for backend, if you are focusing only like C++, you focus only this. When I ask like maybe can you do in terms of Java or maybe Python, then they said, oh, I'm not familiar, I just prefer this. I think maybe you can like later on increase it your self capability, not only focus in one language. What else? Okay, there are 3 most common API, which is Win32 API for Windows. You're going to have also POSIX API, which is normally related to Unix, Linux, Mac OS. And lastly, for Java API, which is for your virtual machine. So note that your system call name used throughout the stack and generate any kind of call throughout your API, application programming interface. Example of system call. System call sequence to copy the content of one file to another. So this is example system call for you if you want to copy the content of one file and then you to another file. This is the existing source file. Just now, like might be I open my folder for Unity as a source file. I want to copy the content inside. And then what needed for me to do so? So it require input file name. So write a prompt to screen, accept input. So this is the input, right? And then you're going to have the output file name, which is your destination. So under your COA subject, you need to know your destination and your source. So both is important. Input and output file. And then this is the things that you need to, basically what happened in your system. And then it's going to write a prompt to screen, accept the input. So you're going to accept the input. Open the input file. If the file not exist, you're going to abort. If there are exits, you're going to copy and then you're going to create the output file. If the file exit. And when it's already there, you can also abort. So you can see you're going to also having a looping and etc. So this example for you when you want to copy under your system call. Another example of standard API. If let's say, for example, you're going to consider a read function that is available in your Linux system. The API for function is obtained from the main page by invokes the command man read. Maybe you can try to open in your Linux and you type this man read. Maybe I can try to do so. But this one, okay. Okay, while waiting to open, you can see here also a small. You can see also what is happening when you type man read. It's going to show you the size, read, function name, and parameter described on the API. And the programs that read functions that you have the size see here. Okay, it's already open. Which one are you going to show? Okay, I can search this. Alamak, I lupa lah. Okay, while it try to open. Okay, this is in terms of the view. When you have your user mode is the one that you see. But in terms of the kernel mode, is something that you cannot see after your system call interface. What is happening? Open, implement the open, which is similar all the listed at this box. It's already open or not? I need to put it on the desktop. Honestly, I'm not familiar with this Fedora. Okay. How to make it here? If under Ubuntu, I can make it and put it on the desktop. I don't know, using Fedora. Okay, when I copy the, you can see here when I using the main read, so there is several things that appear here. So this is example what we can have. I think so. Let's see. I don't like Fedora. Boleh tak macam tu? Maybe I can try to do it in Ubuntu. Okay, you can see here you have several things that available after you try to invoke the main read. So it's going to give you whatever things that you can use later on. This is the things that shows. You can see synopsis for the include whatever here size and etc. that's similar in your example here, the descriptions of the API. Back to my, you can see you have a lot of other details that's showing here. What else here? Okay, this is the forward line. When you're playing around with Ubuntu and also your Fedora, you have the functions of memory. Okay, you have the function of memory. Whatever you have written before this, you can play around with your error like this. Just pointing it up, so all of the memory are available. So this is what happened because last time I have several memory inside my Ubuntu. You can go until finish. You can maximum it how many memories that you can have for the terminals, depending on your storage also. But Fedora, you can see, okay, this is the only things that I have because last time I never use anything under Fedora. So this is my first time in my Fedora. So the sound is quite interesting, I think. Okay, you can explore more. Maybe you can also explore Ubuntu. Maybe you can try to compare it. How it's look compared to the Fedora. Okay, type of system call. You have several type of system call. First is the process control. What is related to your process control? You're going to have things that is called as and or is whatever program that you are trying to open or existing one. And then you can also have the load to execute your program. You can have the create a process, terminate, which is also similar all of this. So you need to remember process control. And then you have the device management, file management, what are having inside the file management, information management, communication, and lastly protection. Protection is very important in terms of your system call or whatever system that available. We need to have a protection to control existing to control access to your resources. Similar also at the beginning, sometimes you can have a group of user. If user A might be it can open the certain source or file or resources in your computer, but sometimes for group B cannot. So this is in terms of protection. So most of it, this is the very important for your system. That's why sometimes when you are playing around Ubuntu or Fedora, if it's related to Linux, of course I'm not familiar with this Fedora. I don't know what is the commands that are using here, but for Ubuntu, it also similar to your window. Okay, when you are having your window here, sometimes you have an option, right click, right click and then run as administrator. You can see here, this is the option for you, run as administrator, because if you are under like group B, you cannot open this application, so you need to be add as add as a administrator. Similar also in your Linux. If you want to open certain file or certain application that you already set, okay, only administrator or the group of user A can open the application, so you need to be as a root. So if you are under you are a user of your root, then you can open it. Mana tadi? Okay, now we have here, this is example under window related to your 16 here. In terms of visual, what is available, that listed all type and necessary needed for your process control, file manipulation, device manipulation, information management, communication, and lastly, your protections. Over here, we have a system program. So system program provide a convenient environment for a program development and also your execution. Some of them are simple user interface to call a system. So what is example for your system program? It can be categorized following the file, status information, file modification, program language, program that you're going to load and execute, communication, background service, and application. Mostly if you look, there are so many like this. As a lecturer also, it's going to hard for us to appoint you with a question. Similar also this one. If there are too many, but this like 6, we still can ask you to pick which one is the very important, or maybe I can say, okay, under the example of set console mode, read console mode, write console mode, what is the call of the system call for the functions? So you need to know, okay, this is under device manipulations. Okay, next we have the display, which is in terms of the diagram view. I think you already look into in your module 1. This is similar things. You have a user, which is it going to connect it to your like compiler or maybe assembler. It depends on what is happening here, and you're going to connect to which data system in terms of the application program. And you have the operating system and your computer hardware, which is your display. Kenapa dia tak nak naik ni? How to hide? Okay. Just now dia naik sendiri. Let's try again. Dia tak nak naik, but it's okay. Here we have monolithic structure, which is normal and the short form as a MS-DOS. So if you are being as a, I think a programmer, network programmer, you always heard about DOS. This is on your system, your system call. Still under your system call, and it is in term of, I dah jump directly. But it is your operating structure. Several type, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Layer is the second, microkernel is the third, module is the fourth, and lastly hybrid. Okay, under DOS, MS-DOS here, the function is to return to provide the most functionalities in the list of amount space. So if you try to like save your storage, then you can write in your MS-DOS, which is limited by hardware functionality. Example is not divide into module, and it have a structure and interface level. So all this level, when you have a hierarchy like this, is very important for you to know. First is application program. Resident system program is a correlation after the application program, and here is the MS-DOS driver, and it will be directly to your ROM. So remember about your ROM on your memory. So there are several under monolithic structure. You have the unique structure here, and unique, of course, it is related to your Linux system structure. And the layer approach, you're going to have several other layers, which is anti-layers and which your user interface. So you can go through it, what is happening inside in your Linux. And in terms of the most important is your microkernel. You can see here, the next one is your microkernel. Where is it? Okay. Microkernel, it's also important, especially when you are playing around with your Linux later on. Here is the second one after your monolithic structure, which is your layer approach. So one of the method is the layer approach for you in terms of the system to be made modular in many ways, in which the operating system is broken into numbers of layers. So you're going to break it, divide it into several layers. The bottom layer we call as layer 0, and normally it is our own hardware. And the highest is your N, which is user interface. This is quite similar to all the system. You can see back through here. This is your layer 0. This is your N layer, which is your user interface. In terms of your modular, many modern operating system implement currently your loadable kernel module. Although you are not playing around with it in your Windows, normally it is under Linux. Later on, you will play around with your kernels. And lastly, your hybrid. When we remember about hybrid, similar in the things that in your module 1, you're going to have at least 2 combination. It is not related to similar things only, but when you are merging, integrate 2 things in one system, it called hybrid. So they are combining different structure, which is result in hybrid system that address the performance, security, and usability issues. Example is Linux is monolithic because having a operating system in single address space, providing very high in performance. Although it's quite efficient in performance, but Linux also modular. It is also a modular. You can see it can be monolithic. It can be also modular, which is a combination of modular and the first one on your monolithic. So when you have two, Linux can be two things. It also can be a functions as a hybrid. Example of hybrid system is your Apple Mac operating system, your iOS also, and also your Android mobile operating system. This is the hybrid system that available. And you can see this is the example of Mac OS, how it look like. Instead, if you are not referring to your Mac OS or your Mac OS or iOS, you can have also the app Android, which is normally we have a Samsung brand, but Samsung is not Android. Android is not Samsung. Android is the operating system that usually refer to several other brand, especially for your smartphone. And you can see here it's quite different with the iOS versions of structure, but you can see you have several things, and the on top of the layer normally is going to be the application. So what is application? Application is things that you can see, which is your user interface, or in our computer is our graphic user interface. So that is the things that is very important. And lastly, normally it's going to be on a kernel. That will be the last layer. If you compare to your OS and Android versions of structure. Next, we have the system boots. You can see here, last time we are discussing in terms of the bootstrap loader. When you first try to open your computer, it is example of your system boots. I don't know why it's quite similar to your module 1, but you can try to play around with your system boots later on. Okay, any question? When you try to play to your Ubuntu, I think you're going to, if you are a programmer type of person, maybe later on you're not going to use your window anymore. Instead, I think you're going to play around everything in your Ubuntu. Because in your Ubuntu, you can also having everything similar. You can store your movie here, you can play game here, but of course not all games that can available. So you can also have the internet services explorer here. We are using Firefox. You can also install your Google Chrome. So everything in one application for Ubuntu. So maybe later on you can try to explore more, okay? Luckily, when I open my VirtualBox in my laptop, it's going to be quite slow. But in my computer, for now, it's okay for me to have Ubuntu and Fedora in one VBox. I don't know whether if you having a quite slow in laptop, maybe it's going to be like headed for you to run everything in one single VirtualBox. Because I think personally, VM require you quite high in RAM and also storage. Any question? I need to go back to my, where is it? Just now or display. Okay, so we have finished our module 2. I want to speed up because everything is more on theory. You can read the notes by yourself. You can even Google, find other resources, especially YouTube explanation and etc. If in class, I think it just wasted of your time, like hearing what explanation in theory. So I need to speed up because I want us to focus more in terms of the technical thing on your Ubuntu, your programming after this. Okay. So I hope you can try first using your Fedora, play around with. Later on, I'm going to share you also with the basic things that you can use in Linux, especially in terms the commands, what you can do, what you can use for the command for the Linux basis. Okay, any question? Chapter 3 will be under your Unix, which is your Linux basis. Kejap my internet is loading.
Doctor, maybe this question might be too early, but right now, do we have any info on our exam mode
Wait, again?
operating system? Right now, do we have any info for our exam mode for this course?
Exam date or module?
the exam mode? Like, are we going to have an online exam or a physical exam?
Okay, we're going to have all online exam until final exam. Although later on you needed to come back to UTM if they call you back, but still our exam for now, okay, for now, we agreed to do all online.
Okay, got it. Thanks, doctor.
There is also some of your friend asking me, am I going to come back to UTM, or if there are possibility for them to just take this class online. Yes, although you need to come back to UTM, our class will be fully online unless for the lab. I don't know about the lab later on, but you're not going to be called to come back for the face-to-face class, but it is necessary for you to come back for other thing. I don't know why, but all university will call you back. I think the earliest will be after Raya. I think maybe next semester it will be fully face-to-face. For this semester, not yet. Okay, might be you can try to play around with your Linux in how you can, like, might be copy the file, how to point the directory of your Linux, how you can delete without using your GUI, and then later on you can play around with your Linux programming language, interpreted programming language, which is what else? Not in your module 3. Module 3 is more on Unix for your Linux use. Okay, execute, system call. Okay, how it's going to be used. Exist. I think it is not too many, but in terms of the use case of technical, I think it will be many also. 2.5 edited concept. Okay, if there is no more question, please make sure you scan your QR code. For those who already scan, it's okay for you, but please make sure that is already a successful scan, because last time there is also problem. Your friend asked me related to the attendant. Some of you still cannot scan, although most of you already can available scan, right? So you need to ask the school academic office why your name still not yet in, because sometimes you are doing the amendment and etc. That's why maybe you are not in the section, you cannot scan the QR code. Okay, so thank you. Meet you again next class on Wednesday. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you, Doctor. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.